What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Real Estate Served on the Rocks, powered by at Living in Colorado, the Mile High Perspective on YouTube. As always, my name is Charlie Sardelli, and I'm here with
Oscar Ibarra
and Jameson Amorose.
Perfect. Guys, thanks for letting us chill a little bit for the holidays. I know we took some time off, but we're back here to drink some more bourbon and talk to you about real estate. And
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I fucking hate turkey.
You know what? Hold on. I deep fry it.
Yeah.
But I'd hate turkey right now because I do two turkeys.
One
on Thanksgiving and one on Saturday. And it was cold for the first one, and it was effing cold for the second one. And then you got to discard the oil, and I hate turkey.
Yeah, I got an argument with a couple people because I'm just like, everybody gets hyped for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And like, we're going to eat so much food. We have all this like jam and gravy and mashed potatoes and potato salad and turkey. And I'm like, I don't like any of that shit. Like, I'll smoke a prime rib all day long over a turkey.
So,
I just don't like turkey.
We, in the past, my family, and now my wife's family, we don't do turkey. We do ham, and obviously with my mom, and we do tamales and stuff like that. So turkey's not on our menu regularly. And my in-law is the same. So turkey, we don't like turkey. So the last year, I said, okay, I'm going to deep fry it. I've never had deep fried turkey, and it was pretty damn good. It's labor intensive. You got to brine it, and then you got to inject it, and you got to deep fry it.
You got to survive.
You got to survive the freaking death boil that you put the turkey in. Yeah, ham is good. Yeah. So, I agree.
I don't know. I don't get excited for it.
I'm not excited for turkey.
Alicia made some of the best damn mashed potatoes.
I like mashed potatoes. I like stuffing.
I like mashed potatoes. I just don't. I don't know. I don't get excited for turkey.
We had a bunch of stuffing left over, and I made stuffing waffles, and then cracked eggs over them. Oh, that was good.
Nice. Well, and then
see, I'm not a stuffing guy either. I'm like, all this is like wet croutons.
Yeah, but that's wet croutons with
delicious, man.
I don't know, man. I
do like the stuffing. I do like the stuffing.
I'm just a hater.
Like I'm a
pumpkin
side
pie.
Tour. I'm a side tour.
Pumpkin pie. And we make buttermilk pie too. So
see, I also hate pumpkin pie. I'm just not built for things.
All right. Whoa, you can't hate
Fire
pumpkin
shots
pie.
over here.
I mean, pumpkin pie is good.
Me and the Pilgrims would have been
not
out
all the
Native
time, but
American
pumpkin
side.
pie is good.
I don't know.
Well,
anyway,
guys. Sounds like we enjoyed our Thanksgiving, right? But there's been a lot going on for all three of us. So, like I said earlier, thank you guys for giving us a little bit of time to kind of settle down, hang out with the families.
Just remind the people what we do here.
Yeah. So on this podcast, we enjoy different kinds of bourbon from all over the country and the world sometimes, and we talk to you about real estate. Give it to you straight, as they say. No, guys, we're just
kind of like my take on turkey.
Bourbon and bros. We're just some bourbon and bro guys.
Right? We like to drink bourbon and we work in real estate. So we want to help you guys understand what's going on, especially because news headlines are crazy. The interest rates are wild. And if you're looking right now and you don't really know what's going on or know anything about the housing market or real estate in general, it's scary. Yeah. And you think that it's not possible. But all three of us can attest to you that it is possible. And if you are ready right now, cool, move on it. But if you're not, continue to save and do what you need to do, as we always say. But today's topic that we want to talk about is a hot one, and we've touched on it before. We've talked about it, but as you guys know, we search the internet for articles that are grabby and stuff like that. And again, we came across an article that was kind of the opposite of what is usual, basically saying, oh, investors and these big corporations are tearing down the housing market. This article talks about it, but it highlights what we've said in the past, where it's like, hey, don't blame Wall Street.
Yeah, investors aren't the boogeymen that people think they are.
No,
Absolutely.
I mean, and at the same time, in a down market, investors are the ones that are on top of it.
Yep.
You know, they keep buying because that's the best time for them, because they don't use finance. And to your point before all this, it is scary, but we have lenders that have rates in the mid sixes.
Yep.
So it's possible. Don't look. The headlines are going to be nationwide statistics.
Yep.
And you need to be local. Like I mean, I don't know how many times we just grind that down to you have to be local.
Oh yeah. If you look at I was looking at before we came on an article that had the top 5 and the bottom 5 appreciating markets, right? So top 5 appreciating, bottom 5 depreciating. Stark contrast, and you're talking almost a 50% difference in home values over the last 12 months between a place like Austin, Texas, which has declined 24% this year, and Ithaca, New York, which is up 28%. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Well, and we could just go to our neighbors, Kansas.
Yep.
They've always been next door, and their market is extremely different than ours, from price point to everything in between.
Look at Wyoming. If you're driving north from Fort Collins.
Is there houses in Wyoming?
Well,
I love
if you're driving
fishing
north
out there.
Fort Collins, there's literally a sign that says, you don't like these high home prices? Move 20 miles north or 30 miles north. And it's like, Yeah, exactly. Because different states are.
I mean,
different
I heard
places.
Casper's popping.
Right?
I mean, Gillette. Let's go to Gillette.
Jackson Hole's great, man.
Oh,
man.
Kanye West is out
Well,
there, I think.
so
still.
guys,
Rondo is
we're
awesome.
gonna-
Let me just throw. I mean, shout out to Wyoming. Rondo is dope. I love fishing over
We're
there.
gonna talk a little bit about that, and yeah, again, please give us comments.
Mm-hmm.
Let us know how you feel on it. But as always, we're gonna drink some bourbon while we talk about this topic, and we are still on our Old Elk series. So this one is actually, I'm excited for it. This is actually Old Elk Wheated Bourbon, and if you guys remember, 2 episodes ago we had their straight wheat whiskey. Now, don't forget, for something to be classified as bourbon, it has to be 51% or more corn mash.
So when we talk about it's primarily wheated or rye or whatever, it's
Mm-hmm.
the secondary.
Yes.
Secondary.
Yeah.
And that's what calms it down, tones it down, or brings it up with the rye.
Exactly. So the first one that we had was a 95% wheat, no corn, with 5% malted barley, right? This one that we're drinking today is classified as a bourbon because it is 51% corn, and then let me go ahead and get the numbers out here, 45% wheat and 4% malted barley. So by doing that 45% wheat, you're going to get obviously a little bit more of a smoother taste to it, just like we had with the straight wheat whiskey. Now I'm not going to go over the notes just yet.
Or, sorry.
Yeah, it's a
92 proof.
92 proof on this guy. So a little bit lower than what we had, but the whole point of this bourbon is
what the degenerates like to think is 100 plus. What we do.
the whole point of this is that they made it. Obviously, we've talked about their history, right? They have over 25 years of distilling and mixing different things coming together. But
And based out of Fort Collins.
yes,
So
based
local.
out of Fort Collins,
Speaking
local.
of local markets.
And it's they wanted to do this to have a bourbon that still gave you that bourbon burn and still was a true bourbon, but leaned a little bit more on the sweeter notes. So that's why, again, they put a little bit more wheat in. And we talked about Old Elk uses a certain wheat from, I think it was Mississippi, and it's a sweeter wheat that's used for breads and baking in order to, enhance that sweetness a little bit more. So I'm interested to see what you guys say. I have the notes written down on the nose, so I'm interested to see what you guys say, especially compared to the straight wheat.
From a state standpoint, Colorado, I think northern Colorado makes a lot of good stuff. From their beer to their bourbon, I like it a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
the guys down south, Colorado Springs, those guys make great bourbon too. But for some reason, this has been more my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
No nonsense. Let's get some bourbon and some good product.
I'll tell you what, the burn on the nose is virtually not there. Like I can get in there
Easy there.
on that one.
Take a sip.
In there nice and tight like.
Take a sip through your nose.
Get my nose in there. I'm just trying to be like that guy, right?
Hey, and just disclaimer: after Thanksgiving, I toned it down and haven't really had anything to
Yep.
drink. So you're in for
Cheers.
you're in
Yeah,
for a
right.
ride.
That's great.
Yeah, I feel like I'm out of practice.
I know.
Right? I will say
I was
on the
drinking
nose, though-
Frangelico too. That's like
Ooh,
40 proof.
Yeah. Jeez. I will say that it definitely comes through on the sweet note. That is very forward, way more sweet than even. I mean, we're coming from the rye, so way less burn, way more sweet.
I'm getting very herbal, but not like it's flowery. Just herbal plant.
Yeah,
You know-
I am getting a lot of vanilla.
I'm getting a ton of vanilla.
Vanilla,
Yeah,
Vanilla and
sweet
caramel.
vanilla.
and I would say, yeah, that caramel, that vanilla, that not a lot.
Get a
not
little
lot of
maple.
the- I was gonna say, yeah, but not a lot of the wood because I remember the straight wheat had
No, I
more of
don't.
that.
I don't smell any kind of char.
Yeah.
or
But
grain.
it's not sweet like fruity sweet.
No.
It's more like caramel
It's a
vanilla.
it's a pastry sweet. Like,
yeah,
it's-
there you go.
Yeah,
there you
it's a
have
pastry
it.
sweet.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, and guys, before we take this sip here, we didn't really do the
I'm
normal
getting, like-
neck pour, but I did leave the bottle open for a bit
Yeah.
before we started. So hopefully that lessened it a little.
I don't know
bit.
if you've ever had water out of those decanters they're old Mexican decanters made out of clay.
Yeah.
And it's actually good. I like it. You pour it in there.
Yeah,
more
last
for the
time I
flavor.
crossed the border illegally, I had one of those.
No, I was just telling the story when I got deported from Mexico
Oh, geez.
to a friend
I will
of
say
mine.
though, and even for everybody watching,
That's
on
what I
video,
get. That water.
I'll see if I can zoom in on it, but the color in this is surprisingly dark for something that's so heavy wheated.
Did we know what the aging time?
Everything is at least 6 years.
Oh well.
At least 6 years from Old Elk. And again, I know the sale value of this, and we'll go over that at the end because that always goes into our ratings. But very surprised for the sweetness that
It's
it
got
has.
some Marilyn Monroe legs on.
Yeah,
I was
they're,
gonna say.
they're a bit runny, but they stay.
Yeah. So I mean
stay
that's
long.
that's a good testament to the fact
Yeah.
that it's not sugar heavy, even though it's
Yep.
sweet. So I'm ready to get this sipping.
Yeah, there's
so-
no burn in the nose.
No. Cheers,
Cheers, fellas.
gentlemen. Cheers. All right. Let's see how this goes. Jesus. Right off the bat, that is the mouthfeel is out silky. Like it's such a light, smooth mouthfeel on that first sip.
I got a quick. Again, I'm out of practice. I got a quick tart,
Okay.
like a tart, not sour, but
No, it definitely sits on the taste buds though.
Yeah.
At the end, but yeah, it's
Smooth. It's light.
like cake.
Yeah. It's light.
Yeah.
Oh wow, no, that aftertaste. Yeah.
If you breathe through it, it's
The burn sits on the tip of your tongue, but the flavor is heavy on the middle and the back, which makes sense for that sweetness, right? Because isn't the sweet on the middle of your tongue? Mm-hmm. I think that's where it is.
I can automatically tell you I would not make an old fashioned with this.
No. It's way. I think it has too much sweetness to do.
Also, I don't know how you do this the whole episode. I can't.
well, mine are prescription.
I can't see.
That's either this or blind.
I can't see.
He wouldn't be able to see the
I'll
bourbon.
be squitting.
I can't see. I spent 10 minutes as Oscar. I can't do it.
Yeah, it's a roller coaster ride. I told him you don't want to walk in my shoes, man. It's
But
crazy.
definitely on the flavor. I mean, it's just right off the bat without letting it sit or whatever. It's smooth on the front end, and when I mean the mouthfeel is silky, like it's not syrup heavy.
No.
but it's also not corn or rye heavy where you
It's
get
not.
that.
It's not
grain.
chewy.
Yes, yeah.
It's not
And
chewy.
initial and after for me are, I don't want to eat, not even tart, like a little more bitter, but not in a bad way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it is sweet. From
Yeah, I think the bitterness
consumption
is,
to down the whole.
Yeah.
It's good and smooth, but initially it went away after I drank another one, but it lingers a little bitter.
Yeah, but I think it
In a good
complements
way.
the sweetness. Yeah,
It does.
Yeah.
It does. It's and that bitterness is like Oscar was saying. It's not floral, but it's earthy. So maybe that's a little bit of the barrel coming.
It's got to be. It's aged 6 years.
At
Yeah,
the
I
back of the palate, it's definitely sweet.
Yes.
Yeah.
But when it lingers in the mouth, it's a little bitter.
Yeah, because anytime if you're going to put a bourbon and age it for 6 years, it's going to pull some of that characteristic of the barrel into it somewhere. It's just because of the high wheat, it covers it up a little bit. And then again, not only is it high wheat, but it's specific sweet wheat.
I mean, the characteristics of the barrel are some of the
Yeah.
more prominent. You know,
Yeah.
the barrel selection is very much so going to be a flavor
Very-
profile that's dominant.
Yeah, very, very, very sweet, but again, not sugary sweet, not fireball sweet.
No.
You know what I
Oh,
mean?
no way,
like
not
you know
even
what I mean
close,
by
yeah.
that mouthfeel, not that weight. So on the nose, it is toffee, vanilla ice cream, caramel, and floral notes.
Caramel or caramel?
If I'm talking freely without judgment, then it's caramel.
You know why?
Why?
How do you say it?
Caramel,
Really? Where are you from again?
Denver.
What the fuck? Normally, caramel is an East Coast thing,
Ah.
and caramel is caramel is a West
I
Coast
have
thing.
family in Florida, so we were always down there.
Yeah.
And it's not pop. And I
Yeah.
used to say pop.
Soda.
Now I say soda.
Yeah, see, I say pop.
Yeah, it's
So
my-
it's
My
yeah,
cousins
it's an
beat
East
me
Coast
up
thing.
about that.
Yeah,
It's soda.
yeah. But
So-
like caramel is normally because when we moved to Virginia Beach, everybody's like caramel and soda. I'm like, what fucking alien country
It's-
do we
it's
move
pop
to?
and caramel.
What is happening right
What
now?
is
Like,
this?
I do
Hey,
not get it.
What about say almonds?
Almonds.
Almonds.
Almonds. Yeah, I
Almonds.
don't say the L. Almonds.
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 It just feels like
yeah, I say
Almonds?
almonds.
It just
But East
feels
Coast
like
people say
almonds.
almonds.
Yeah, almonds.
Almonds. Yeah.
Not almonds. It's like almonds.
No, that's almonds. I don't know. It feels
And
like
today's
extra
show,
word
how
to
do you
say
pronounce
almonds.
stuff? No, not even real estate
Let's-
related.
Let's have a linguistic journey through through the United States while we drink bourbon.
All right,
And I guess for me, it's because it's almendras in Spanish.
Okay.
Yeah.
So almonds, I
Yeah.
pronounce the L.
Makes
and then
sense.
Almonds.
and so the taste on this, and I like that it. What's interesting, it says cream, toffee, vanilla, toasted almonds, and
I can see
clove.
the cream now.
That's
Yeah,
what
I think the
say.
cream is that silk.
Yeah.
that silky feel.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yep.
That makes sense.
And then the toffee and the vanilla. I'm not
I don't get
getting
toffee.
Kind
I'm
of like
not-
orange cream.
Yeah, I don't
Whoa.
get toffee.
You know, I'm not getting as much toffee as I am the caramel.
Yeah, caramel.
Caramel.
And which is odd because I feel like they go hand in hand.
Toffee and caramel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Well, yeah. No,
they're
I
very
agree.
similar in their profile.
Yes, but that could also be just a I'm not a huge fan of toffee flavors in general. Like
Yeah,
I
me
don't
either.
drink
I don't like
toffee. I don't like coffee.
I don't
I don't
like
like any of
anything
that.
chewy or
Hazelnut.
sticky.
Like I'm not a hazelnut guy. So it doesn't, to me, I think my taste buds are like, we'll just ignore the toffee portion of it and we'll focus on what we like.
I do like the clove edit in there though, because that goes to your point. Not floral,
the
but
earthy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that 100%.
It is. Yeah. It's not a flat because this. Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I'm a bit worried to let this open.
Might be a little bit too
Yeah.
light.
Yeah, might be a little too light, but obviously we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Open the bottle
episode.
up. Let's open the bottle up. See what it does.
I left it open for probably 20 minutes before we started, so like we're getting it. But JC's glass is always the tell.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see how it opens because I don't know if it's gonna.
Like to this day, JC still gets the last word. It's great.
Yeah,
I love it.
You're right. You're right.
It's like thank you for all your opinions, but anyway, we're going to talk about what I think now.
The traditional thing is to open the bottle and not cork it until we're done drinking.
You're right, but I
saying.
got some video shoots I gotta go do after this, and I don't know how well the camera will
Well, it
shake.
doesn't mean you have to keep drinking, but we
Also,
can
it's
keep
called
drinking.
image stabilization.
You're right.
You'll be fine.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, there's apps for that.
AI is a hell of a thing.
It's a hell of a thing.
But I mean, honestly, just first impressions of it, how it markets itself, yeah, it's right there.
Yeah, I think it's
definitely,
well balanced.
definitely sweeter, heavy on the wheat, so it has that more sweeter tone to it. But definitely doesn't feel cheap. If
take
that
a
makes
take a
sense.
sip and breathe it in like this. You get the floral. You definitely get the floral
Okay.
big time.
It hit me on the back when I just had it, and I
Exactly.
breathed in through the back of my throat.
I was gonna say the clove sits on the back for me for sure.
Yep.
100%.
Agreed.
All right, guys, you ready? You ready to talk and make some people angry? Because
love
We're talking
making
about the
people
big bad wolf.
the big bad people.
Of Wall Street.
Initially, investors, yes, they really dictate a lot of the market, and they are the guys that kind of drive prices up and they kind of wreck things. But in this case, it's not a bad thing. Don't blame Wall Street. Wall Street suffers in their own way.
Well, and I think the most.
And if the stocks are down, not always, but that means interest rates are going to drop.
Well, there's two things, right? Like the big argument has always been that investors are buying up all the homes. We have companies like BlackRock and Invitation Homes and all these different people that own all these houses and own entire neighborhoods. And because they do that, then all the home prices get jacked up, right? We went through the same cycle 2 years ago now with Open Door, right? And Zillow that were just buying homes, right? Open Door was buying homes. Zillow was buying homes as that whole iBuyer thing. They're technically an investor as well, even though they're also a brokerage. And you remember we had people that it was the worst time to list a house 2 years ago that I've ever seen them like in my life, because we would look at comparables and go, yeah, your house is worth, based on these comparables, $640,000. And then they go, well, Zillow's going to give me $740,000. And then we go, take it, I guess. It's not
So
real.
it was good for the
but take
consumer
it.
too, though.
Good. No, that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. But my point is, I think what happened is now, once that fell apart, like we knew it was going to, because it wasn't sustainable,
Well, they were hedging their bets on the fact that the market was going to,
continue to just,
20% month over
It was
end.
dumb. It was so dumb. The lack of hindsight. I mean, anyway, that's beside the point. But I think people then got scared and they go, wait a second. Like Zillow came in and Open Door came in, they priced out this neighborhood. And then, you get investors and you read the stories of, I forget who it was. I think it was Invitation Homes that bought an entire Dallas suburb of new construction because new construction wasn't selling. So they bought like 47 homes. And people are like, well, if they buy 47 homes, that takes away from the inventory and so on and so forth. So
nobody was
that's
buying
the
them.
big, what?
No one was buying them.
Right, but
As a
that's the
consumer,
big-
you should have jumped in and tried to buy them.
Right. But that's the big headline is there's these entities that have, and they're classified, right? Like small, medium, and large investors are based on how many properties they own. Large investors are anything that has over 1,000 properties, I believe, is what the classification is. And there was this idea that they were the ones that were driving up home prices because they were taking inventory away. Buyers were coming in, there was less homes to buy, and then therefore the home prices were going up, which if you look at it now, we're going to talk about, not necessarily true.
Yeah, well, and I think something important to note on it as well is that, this is, and I've said it multiple times, but this is the perfect storm, right? We're in a very hard economic time. Whether or not the GDP is going up or they're saying the economy is going good, people are feeling it, right? We're at the highest level of debt that Americans have ever had, credit card debt, over
Trillion?
over anything in the past.
Stop looking at my financials.
Right?
I gotta balance this just to highlight that point.
Yeah.
I have a Best Buy card, right? And
Yes, the lovely Best Buy card.
well, I'm gonna use it
Which
to buy.
the average consumer do not use. Rack up your Best Buy card. It jacks up your interest.
You know
Or
what?
Your,
So
your
here-
FICO, your interest.
Also,
your credit
can I
score.
just?
Yeah.
I feel like this is gonna be a show of tangents, so I'm okay. Here's just a pro tip for you guys, right? And it does take discipline, okay? But if you want to at least utilize credit cards how they should be utilized with like points and whatnot, so like for example, we took a trip to Miami, say the Fontainebleau. I don't know if you guys ever heard of that hotel. It's on
Sounds fancy.
Mid Beach, right?
Fontainebleau.
It's been around since the 70s, but they've filmed part of the Rat Pack movies there. They filmed 2 James Bond.
No, I'm upset you didn't come back
films
with
there.
a porn mustache.
I thought about it.
I wanted- oh,
really
man,
did.
I would've
know.
paid money to
I
have a
like my
picture of
beard
you
so
in
much,
Miami
though,
with a
dude.
porn
I know.
mustache.
The beard. The beard is the man's sweatpants for his face.
I thought about it, and I was like, man, I don't know if I
I
can
would
do
have
it.
loved that. That would
But
have made my day.
but anyway, so we went there, and it's a nice. I mean, it's a Vegas hotel.
Brad
in
Walters
Miami.
mustache.
Oh, dude,
The best.
Yes, that was. I couldn't do that.
That
See, that's
dude
what I'm
has the
saying.
best
I couldn't
mustache
compete
ever.
it.
Anyway,
Anyway, but we did it, and it's an expensive hotel. It's like $300-400 a night. It's a Vegas hotel.
anything in Miami.
Yeah, it's expensive, right? And flights out there aren't cheap. And we were able to use credit card points and paid for 90% of the trip.
Sweet.
Right? So once we got out there, obviously the food and the drinks are Vegas prices, but the accommodations and the flight out were free because we used points. My whole point on points is we talk about credit card debt, and I think it's just this is important and it takes self-discipline. But if you think about it, I have Chase. So I've got my business credit card, my personal debit card, business debit card, so on and so forth. Anytime I do something like go get gas and spend $75, I put it on my Chase Sapphire card. And then as I'm filling up my tank, I go to my bank account on my phone and I transfer $75 from my debit card to pay the credit card off for whatever that purchase price is, right? Because if you have the money, anytime you're going to use your debit card to buy something, you should use a credit card and then
points.
just transfer the money
Yep.
from your debit to your credit because
Especially
then
if you're out of town.
But-
at least now you start to get the points. And the beauty of that is if you accumulate enough, I had 75,000 points or something
Well,
like
and
that.
I was going to say
turns into
that's-
$7,500.
Yeah, but that's a good, and you say it's a tangent, but that plays exactly into where I was going with that, right? One reason that it's a perfect storm is because we're at a period of time where money knowledge and financial knowledge,
Financial literacy.
Play the
has
game.
to be,
Yes.
has to be higher.
Yes.
Because the reason that all of this is happening with the corporations is because we have a large sum of Americans who are struggling, myself included, right? That are seeing titles like hedge fund puts together $1 billion to buy single family homes. And they're going, oh, they have $1 billion. I don't have anything, where I understand that but also having gone through the journey of financial literacy and actually going, okay, you know what? Credit is necessary. You need to borrow money to make money. Right?
Credit is key
Yes.
here in the States. And I'm not as good as Jameson. I don't like using my credit card.
I'm not
but
saying I'm good.
I
let me make that very, very clear.
But
I am
just
not.
knows how it
but
works.
I
do-
just know how it works.
I have
and
a
when I
Chase-
remember it, I do it. But there are also times where I just put shit on my credit card and I forget to pay it. So
That's how
I'm
I forget to
this
pay
is
it.
not
So
Oh, no,
I
man.
do.
You
I
know
do.
what I mean?
I have a Chase American Airlines.
Yeah.
and that's my Vegas trip for March Madness.
Right.
It gets paid by that.
Exactly.
It's funny because like I said, coming from the hippie mindset that like, I'm not going to spend the money on this. When you say like, oh, sometimes I put something on my credit card. No, we'll be at the store. And Alicia will be like, oh, well, no, I got it. I'll pay for this. I'm like, no, I get points on my credit card.
Yes.
So let me pay for it. And then
Which
you just
is-
Venmo me.
which is great.
And I'll pay it off.
Which is
right?
great, yes.
But that's my whole point in this is that what's happening is by being so secluded and being online and honestly not understanding, because in all reality, like a lot of people don't understand money when it gets above a certain level, right? Like a lot of people don't understand that $1 billion is not something that's normally attainable. That's not a real figure when it comes to a normal, base level person in the economy. Like you no matter what you do, it's going to be very hard for you to touch that, right? And when we see numbers like that, it's hard for us to formulate and go, wait a second, how am I going to go up against these companies? And they're coming in and buying and everything. And that's when we start to perpetuate that anger, that
Yes.
frustration.
And again, whether it's $1 billion or $100, you can manage it the same way.
Well, and I love it. Mark Cuban just had, I saw something, I don't know if you guys saw, but he after this season, he's backing off a Shark Tank. He's not doing it anymore. But somebody asked him a question on a podcast recently where it was, if you had $500 right now, how would you use it and what would you do? And he was like, that is the best question that anybody's ever asked me. And then he said it out. He said, I would spend $100 on this. I'd spend this on this. I put this in here. And it's because he has financial
Actually, I think
literacy.
what he said was, he went, I'm going to go find a company,
Yep.
get into a sales role, learn everything I can about that industry, be the best in the industry, and then just become the best salesperson there is.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'll pocket the $500.
And it's
Right?
about money management and how you allocate your cash.
Yeah.
Take $1. I mean, I think it's T. Harv Eker that gives the analogy that, spread that dollar. I'll take $1. Don't take your whole paycheck. Take as much as you can. Let's take $1. 10 cents goes here, and it's percentages, right? 10 cents. 10% is going to go to your educational fund. 10% is going to go to your investment fund. 10% to your entertainment, and it breaks out the whole dollar. You don't have to have $1 billion. Just get in the habit of money management. And I'm not the best, but just simplify it and just get in the habit of doing it.
Warren
Once
Buffett.
you get in the habit of doing it, then you're working your money.
Right? Well,
And
Warren
let it
Buffett
work.
says it. Everybody wants fast money. Nobody wants long money.
And at the same time, you were talking about these big corporations. I have a buddy, Chris. I don't know if he wants me to mention his last name or not, but when I got into the industry, we got in at the same time. We're roughly the same age. Right now, you know what Chris is doing? He's living in Florida. Living his life. His kids play hockey. And he's at all hockey games.
And let me guess,
he
he invested.
He did.
Yeah,
You know what I was
exactly.
doing? I was making paychecks
Grinding,
and making it rain.
Yeah.
I was in my early 20s.
Yeah.
I was going buying bottle service and living my best life. Now you can't take that from me. That's going to be my memories for the rest of my life. But you know what he was doing? He was saving his cash, and when things went south, he bought a ton of, I think it was either Shea or Lennar homes. I think it was Shea. He bought a bunch of Shea homes over in Highlands Ranch.
Oh, yeah.
He has a
You
few
and I
in the
talked about
hearth,
this. Yep.
and he has at least 7 homes that he bought back in 2008-9 that are he probably owes
Nothing.
100,
Okay.
Yeah.
100K
Okay, now-
on it, and what are they renting for
But
right now?
perfect example.
$5,000.
Right?
He's even VRBOing some for 6 to 7 grand.
But see,
and he has
that's
6 of them.
A perfect example. What Oscar just said is, again, 2 people starting at the same level. One, like you said, you enjoyed it. You used your money. You made your memories. The other one went, I'm going to put this money here and plan longer term, whatever it was. But again, you were both at the same level, right?
Absolutely.
And what
with
we're
the same
talking
knowledge.
about-
He's
Yeah.
actually, and Chris, we had the conversation, so he could call me out if he wants. We were in his car during the recession, and we were short selling property, so we were door knocking, and he said, dude, I don't understand how I'm set up and I have business. You're a better realtor than I am. And that hit me right in the gut.
Well, and-
because he's financially more savvy
Yeah.
with his money at the time.
Yeah. Well,
At the
and,
time.
and the reason I bring that up is because, like I said, we have these large entities, right? In your case, if you guys were sitting there talking to Chris, I guarantee you wouldn't look at him and be like, I hate you because you have 7 properties.
Right.
I hate you because you're making money. You'd be a little bit upset and maybe a little
Nicest
bit jealous.
guy in the world,
right?
too.
But that's my whole point in this is everybody, because of how we are right now, with everything going on, people, it's easy for us to take the scapegoat
Yep.
and go,
Find the
"Oh,
bad
yeah."
guy.
Exactly.
Point the finger.
And that's exactly how it's been set up when, in all reality, the numbers don't show that, right?
They don't.
And that's something, again, we've talked about. And again, thank you for everybody who's commented or talked with us on YouTube, on our videos, TikTok, whatever it is. But we want to go over some of the numbers and some of the backing to the fact that investors, these companies, they're in it for the quick money. They don't want to wait 10 years, sit 5 to 10 years on a property to make this equity. They want to go and flip it. And yeah, that can make things a little bit more expensive. But with the way that everything is based on the real estate market, right? So if house prices aren't going up, do you think that these corporations want to hold an asset that's only going to make them 1% over the next 3 years?
The good companies are going to have a good business plan.
Yes.
And whether it's short term or long term, they're gonna forecast and they're gonna say, this isn't gonna be feasible for us. When Open Door came to Colorado, I knew at the time that it wasn't a market for them.
Yep.
But it was at the time very, very lucrative if they were to come in. I think they invested $3.4 billion just in the Colorado. Fact check me. But this was, I think, 16, roughly 17, and they dumped all this money. They did allocate. They acquired a lot of property. They were offering still not as much as the consumer can get on the open market. But then slowly they just kept creeping up to the point they saw the forecast and they thought it was going to go long term. And that's when Jameson brought it up that they were offering the consumer a lot more than the property should have sold for because they knew by the end of the next year, it was going to double. And when it didn't, they had all this inventory.
Well, and they also, there's a shady aspect to it. I mean, they were, I think, this is my opinion, that they were trying to price fix.
Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of price fixing, because what they were trying to do was they were trying to set comps, right? So they would go in and they would buy 10
if
homes.
they could buy enough homes in the neighborhood,
they buy 10 homes, 10 homes in a neighborhood, offer on 10 homes in the neighborhood. 8 of them would be at market value, 2 would be above
Inflated.
market value, and then they would buy the other 8, and then they would resell them at the comps they just set for the 2 that they sold for $100,000 over, and then try and make a profit on all 8, right? And it wasn't sustainable. It was shady. They got called out for it. A lot of lawsuits happened for them, which, ironically, another fucking side note, there was not enough of a stink
uproar
brought up when Zillow and Open Door were essentially price fixing and trying to set comps in neighborhoods so that they could make more money, and yet we're getting lambasted.
Slap the realtors on the
Those are
wrist.
2 national
But
brokers
what the big
yes.
companies, like those 2 big companies, did was much worse.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
Much
and
worse.
so Jameson, I know,
Anyway.
Sorry.
we have.
I just, as
more
I'm going
bourbon.
through it, I'm like, yeah, that's, I mean,
Right.
it was a news article for like a day.
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys realize that you're fucking over hundreds of thousands of people by.
Yeah. But
Anyway.
so
And oh, by the way, guess who they were paying? They were offering us 3% commission. Weird.
yeah,
Yeah.
right? And
To the point where our commissions went away.
Yeah.
With builders, there was builders cutting us out.
yeah, when I started,
offering nothing.
When I started, it was like 0.8, if not 0.5, from
Dude,
builders.
Lennar was paying $1,500.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, because back in my day, dude, Richmond was offering 3%, sometimes 4%, and a trip to Hawaii.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they went from that
And
to
a Mercedes.
Screw you guys.
Right?
Yeah, they were like the Mary Kay of the builders.
and obviously, guys, we don't. Yeah, we're just 3 guys that talk about the market and drink bourbon. But one thing that all 3 of us are very, very adamant about is that we want to bring receipts. We want to bring
Yes.
you numbers, statistics.
Yep.
And we're not just sitting here spewing it, right?
No.
Yeah, and
So-
if anybody knows me, I am for the consumer 1,000%.
exactly.
I've taken losses for the
That's
consumer.
why. Well, that's why we do this.
Look
That's
me
why
up.
we do this in the first place. Please come sit down, and talk
Yep.
with us. Right, we're here for you. But Jameson, go ahead, throw some of the numbers at us. Right, and there's people that'll say, oh, well, this statistic, that statistic, and yes, statistics are skewed left,
Correct.
right,
Yes.
up, down.
Yep.
But at the same time,
Whatever your agenda is.
yeah, you can make it the way you want. But the numbers that we're going to show you are over 30-year spans that we're comparing, and going over and certain companies that aren't even related. They're companies that get paid to do the research, right? These are the ones that we're pulling this information from. And the number one fact that I want to drive home is that we are sitting at the largest amount of home ownership in United States history by American citizens.
Yeah. So I'm going to preface this by saying, when Oscar's touched on it multiple times, real estate is local. Okay. It is so local. And when we look at these kind of numbers and we try and make sense of what's happening across the landscape, we look at it from a national standpoint, right? So I know what's going to happen is I'm going to say something, then somebody's going to go in the comments and go, well, in my neighborhood, it's like this, which could very well be true. But if you're looking at trends, you don't look at trends on a microeconomic scale. You look at trends on a macroeconomic scale because everything is cyclical. It'll balance out eventually.
And
okay?
Colorado has been proven to lead the market and the nation in
So,
statistics.
I'm going to take the last 4 years
Yep.
because that includes pre-pandemic, pandemic, and post-pandemic, right? So call it 2019 to 2020.
Those are some Wild West years, too.
I know, right? It's fucking crazy. But if you look at when investor activity skyrocketed to the highest level we've ever seen it was during COVID.
Yep.
Because the U.S. government, in all of its wisdom, said, oh, you want to buy this as an investment property? Tell you what, we'll give you the same interest rate as if you're a first-time home buyer on an FHA loan to buy this property, even though we know you're going to turn around and rent it out, right? So that means that, like right now, and Oscar, you can attest to this, right? If I want to go buy a secondary home as an investment property, minimum I have to put down is 10%, minimum. And that's going to get me like a 9.5%, 10%, and I probably have to pay some points. Or in some cases, it's got to be if it's farther than 60 miles away from my
100 miles
primary,
from-
then I'm 25% down, right? And
It's-
I'm still at a 9%.
Yeah, I mean, your rate will get better if it's a secondary home.
Correct.
And you got to prove why it's a secondary home.
Exactly. You gotta
And
jump
it has
through the
to
hoops.
be
Yes.
a certain amount of miles.
The point is, 3 years ago, I could have bought a house 20 feet from my current house, set it as a It was a secondary investment property and getting a 3.25% interest rate, right? Which means money's cheap, investors come in, home prices were low. They were gonna, so their activity jumped. Okay. In that 4 years, then what you would assume is with the amount of activity,
The whole gamut of investors.
correct? Yes, all of them.
From the small to the big.
Mom and pop all the way up to the big investors, right? So you're talking that in that time period, they were buying up about 20% of the homes that were on the market. Okay, it's a real number. Between, call it 2021 or 2020 and 2022, they bought about 20% of the homes. Okay,
And see, and
historically, that average is about 15%, 16%.
because big investors, the big guys, 1,000 properties plus, they don't give a crap what rates are.
Correct.
Because they got the hedge fund money.
Well,
And
so-
they're gonna buy in bundles.
But
and
they do now.
And they buy when the market's down.
Right.
The consumer at large will not and cannot do it. So they come in, they're like, we'll do it.
Case in point, 2023.
Right.
We'll do it.
So what ends up happening is we look at it and we say, okay, so during the COVID, when we had the rate drops, investor activity increased, which would normally mean that what we measure as primary home ownership would decrease over that same time frame, right? Which would then lend itself to the argument that, okay, well, investors, whether they're small or large, are buying up all these properties and they're forcing home ownership to lower levels. The opposite is true. So since 2019, as of 2023, we actually have 6.6 million more homeowners than primary residents, not secondary, not investment, primary residents, families, singles, boyfriend, girlfriend, boyfriend that live in the same house.
Everything.
And use it as their primary residence. 6.5 million more than we did in 2019. Okay. The percentage normally floats around 62 to 63% of households are primary residence owned households. We're at 66%.
Yep.
So what does that tell me? What it tells you is that even though investor activity increased to historic highs during COVID, home ownership also increased. And the only way that happens is if there's enough inventory for people to buy homes.
Yep.
Now let me play devil's advocate.
Yep.
Would the investor help the market in this scenario? Let's say that there's now more homes on the market. Your consumer cannot buy, so an investor comes and says, "I'll take a bulk amount, 1,000 properties in Texas." Now they rent them out. Now they have all this assets that, you know, if they take their $1 billion, put it in a high risk vehicle, it might get,
Right.
15%. And they could lose their butt off on it.
Yep.
Or they spend that money on 1,000 units and make 20% month over end. They're going to say, okay, well, let's rent them out. And then that's going to drive rents down. Now that's good for the consumer, right?
Yep.
And it's going to turn around and ruffle the feathers on the real estate sales side.
Sure.
So is that going to now promote lower prices and stabilization of our current market?
Right. And I think that's a good point, right? Because the other piece of this that I find super interesting, when we talk about, and again, I'm just painting the Wolf of Wall Street, like the big bad, the big bad wolf, right? Big bad wolf is any companies or investment companies in real estate that own more than 1,000 units. Okay. They're the ones that everybody goes, they're buying up all the properties and driving up home prices.
With that said, commercial real estate's suffering right now.
So, well, I'm not talking commercial. I'm talking
Right,
just
and
residential.
I'm saying they're gonna focus their chops on residential.
They will eventually, yeah. So let me ask you guys a question. If you take a market, major metropolitan markets, right? So not just capital cities, but just major
thank you.
metropolitan markets. How many, when we talk about the large home investors, what percentage of their holdings are within 6 major metropolitan markets in the United States?
All right. So basically, what you're asking is how much do these?
So if I've got a
how many
portfolio,
properties
right?
do these?
You take all the portfolios of all the big bad investors, BlackRock, Invitation Homes, et cetera, right? There is a percentage that they have invested in 6 markets. I'll give you the markets. Okay. The markets are Dallas, Phoenix, Charlotte, North Carolina, Atlanta, and I forget what the other one is. There's another one in the South in the Sun Belt, right? I think it's Miami.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are the 6 markets. So in those 6 markets, what percentage of every major 1,000+ property portfolio is in just those 6 markets?
I want to say 60%.
It's not that high, but
I mean, 30.
about 40%.
Okay.
So 40%
Which,
of everything they invest in is in 6 cities across the United States.
and those cities are pretty, like,
Popping.
no, you're
Check
not
this
only
out.
popping, but you have a very big discrepancy in wealth. Miami, you have the $1 billion where you just came from resorts and making it rain, and then they have Dade County,
Right.
which is broke
But-
and very crime ridden. Dallas, same thing.
Right.
Atlanta, same thing. Phoenix, same thing. So
Yeah.
there's something to look at.
So, but check this out, right? So now you take that 40%, okay? 14% of all of them are in one city in 11 zip codes. And it's
Really?
Atlanta,
Yep.
right? So when you talk about, oh my God, they're buying up all the houses, you guys got to understand that they are severely concentrated in very specific markets. And the fact that every company that owns over 1,000 units, 14% of their holdings are in 11 zip codes in a single city in the United States, in one state, in Georgia. Right?
Let me tell
now,
you.
why do you think that is?
I would. Just
I don't
say,
know this for a fact, but I have a theory.
I would just say that it's. I mean, Atlanta's one of the highest growing areas right now for production and companies moving in.
When you say production, what do you mean?
Video production.
Right. So if you watch a
I
movie,
mean, Tyler Perry's down there.
well, if you watch a movie, at the end of the credit, it's thank you to the state of Georgia, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you have video production going down there, those guys are renting out homes, they're Airbnb homes.
Yep.
You have the cast coming in, you have the crew coming in, all these different things. 14% of their holdings are in Atlanta. So right now, is Atlanta probably overpriced? Yes.
Yeah.
And if you're watching this from Atlanta,
Let
I'm
us know.
telling you why. You guys, it's a double-edged sword, right? You get the influx from an economic standpoint and all of this money from, Disney Studios and DreamWorks and every other production company on the planet. Like almost every single reality TV show is filmed in Atlanta, Georgia.
Now
Right?
let's take
You get the plus side of, hey, our economy is growing. There's always going to be jobs, so on and so forth. The minus side, right? The other side of Occam's razor is your housing prices are probably higher or increasing faster than the nationwide average because of that. So you guys have to understand when you talk about, oh, it's the big bad, it's not.
No.
Like they are so
well, if you want to be a prime dog
geographically
in
specific,
investment investor or Wall Street or
Yeah.
let's call it an investor. Are you going to go to Wyoming or are you going to go to Wall Street?
Exactly.
You're going to Wall Street, right?
Yeah.
So what is let's say the rental rate in New York?
Well, okay.
So I mean that kind of plays into
Yeah.
it, and let's see from let's dial it down to where their business plan is, right? Let's take it down to us. If you had $200,000,
Yep.
where would you invest it? What state would you invest it?
I'm going back to North Carolina.
Okay, where would you go,
100%.
J-Mo?
Tennessee borderline.
If I was
If you have
investing,
$200K down and you're like, I'm going to invest in some real estate, where would you go?
I'd go to the Midwest. I'd go Ohio. I'd go Illinois. I'd go like Kentucky around Lexington.
Arizona.
I wouldn't go Arizona right now.
I would go. I personally would go not too far. I'd probably go to Missouri, Kansas.
Yeah.
Well-
because my money is going to go a lot
Yeah, the
further,
the
and then I
Midwest-
could just play it a
Yeah,
little bit
and-
better,
and-
right? And these investors are the same thing. They're going to look at where their money is going to go further
Yeah.
and make a bigger profit
Well,
on.
And here's the other thing too, and reading through the article too, and something that they mention, and I think is a huge point, and we talk about this all the time, is
Oh man, I got another good stat.
is inclusion, right? And like being a part of it and knowing what's going on. One thing that
Inclusion high school sucks.
But
Just
one thing
kidding.
that everybody is kind of, like I said, it's easy to go, I hate these people with a lot of money. But turn the mirror, look in the mirror, right? We have so many places, and just a great example, I love it, place in Western North Carolina where I went to college called Sylvan, North Carolina. I know so many people that are getting angry there because these Floridians are coming up and buying all the properties, blah, blah. Okay, but when's the last time you went to a community meeting on changing the zoning to allow more building in this certain area and not limiting your inventory, so the only properties that they can buy are the inventory that you would go for, right? And we see the same thing out here, just like in Boulder, right? Boulder's
Lakewood.
suffering right now. Lakewood, right?
Lakewood, Arvada.
All these towns are holding off because so many people, I don't want them to move in. I don't want more homes to come in. Okay, well, at this point, you're hurting yourself because if we do have, even though it's lower, even though they're not buying as much, they're selling off more, these companies. If there's not inventory growing, if there's not spaces coming up, the homes, now you're forcing yourself to compete against these people with higher money, even if it's not the 1,000+ owners. It's people like your buddy that have the capital that can come in. So at the same time as they're buying it up, we're not doing anything to help ourselves because we're not involving ourselves in expanding the ability to build more and grow more.
We're not. And I think there's also a human element to it where it is, when it comes to the general public, right, not everybody has specialized knowledge in everything.
No.
And it's easy to point the finger at just one big bad target that you see a headline say, okay, it's this person's fault. It's a lot more difficult to take the nuances of where we're at from an economic standpoint and look at the data and go, okay, maybe that's not really what's happening. Because if you look at it, so from 2016 till now, owner-occupied homes have increased by 11.1 million across the United States. What do you guys think the stock of rentals owned by the 5 largest investor bad boys have increased in that same time frame?
I'm going to go less than 1%.
Give me a number.
I'm gonna go 5.
0.7%.
No, like a number of units.
Oh, a number of units.
So 11 million added owner-occupied homes versus in the same time frame, so 2016 to 2023.
1 million.
Okay.
I'm gonna say around 1 million.
275,000.
Oh wow! I was gonna say 5, but that's not a lot.
But that's the point, right?
Yeah.
People assume that they're buying up millions of homes. They're not, right? No. Invitation Homes is one of the largest holders of rental properties in the United States. Okay, and they're the ones
Single
that
family?
do like home Partners of America, single family and well, they do single family, right? So let's just do single family,
and they sell back to the consumer.
Right. They only own 80-some thousand units across the United States, but everybody sees the headline and they assume that they own 8 million households. They don't. You know what I mean? Like they don't. And that's the point that we're trying to get across is, yes, investors are in the works because they will be in the works in every single industry that has a commodity for sale. But to Oscar's point, it could actually be a good thing, right? If I'm a homeowner in a neighborhood and an investor comes in and flips 4 or 5 of the trashy houses in my neighborhood,
your value just went up.
Your value went up. Congratulations, right?
Yeah.
If I'm a first-time home buyer, I may be able to get into a nicer house at a lower price because they bought them really cheap, and I can turn around and purchase that.
And at the end of the
rent
game,
to own. I can do all these different things. So it's not a bad thing. But what's happening is everybody's getting frustrated about affordability, and they're blaming the easiest target, which is the investors in Wall Street. Wall Street, the investors
that you're talking about are a very good thing.
And the investors,
and I'll say why.
Their purchases year over year are down 35%.
Yep.
Why is that?
Because they don't want to own assets.
So they're turning around and giving the general public a chance to buy the house. That at the end of the day, they're putting some skin in the game.
Yep.
Yeah.
The guys that suck are the open doors, and all the guys that inflate it and try to price, manipulate the prices, right? But the investors that are going in, they're buying the dump house. No one's going to buy it. I'm not going to buy it. It's going to cost me too much money. But they're going to come in and say, all right, I'm going to rehab it and then offer it as first-time home buyer. Now, it's an opportunity for the consumer, and then the neighborhood's going to be like, thank you, right? So those investors are actually really good. And at the same time, if they have a good business plan, it's going to work for them when the rest of the general public is quote unquote suffering in a recession and all that, right?
But at the same time,
they have the ability for it.
I think it's actually what I'm going to hold it. That's going to be I'm going to hold that for my one.
Hold it. So here's something else to think about, right? Because I've gotten this comment before in previous videos that I've done on this, and a lot of people go, well, you guys are just focusing on the big mom and pop or the big investors. What about mom and pop investors? 10 or less doors, or at least 10 doors, right? Single family homes specifically, investors that have at least 10 properties only own about 3.4% of all single family homes in the country. The big investors with over 1,000 units, which includes AMH Homes, Invitation Homes, Tricon Residence, and Prentium, own less than 1% of single family homes in the United States. So if you guys think that that is what is causing this increase in home prices and affordability crisis, the numbers just don't back it up. And I had a mentor, shout out Steve Byers. He was my DM, my district manager for Best Buy. He always his favorite thing to say was, nothing screws up an argument more than facts.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and that's what we're trying
It
to get
takes the
across.
emotional part out of it.
And the reason I'm trying to get across this is because when you guys pivot from being a victim to a faceless Wall Street entity that is buying up all the homes in your area and driving up prices, minus Atlanta, because I actually do think that is happening there just based on the numbers. But overall, and you pivot from that to how do I now take advantage of it? I want to go back real quick to what Oscar said. Okay. If I am somebody in Colorado, and let's say it's us three, right? And we're hanging out here in Castle Rock, and we want to invest in something because we want to be landlords or we want to invest in property. Does it require a license?
Yes.
No. For to invest or no?
To buy
Oh,
something?
no.
Doesn't require a license. Doesn't require a license to invest. 2, if I want to go in with you 3 and go buy a property, does it have to be in the state that we live in?
Nope.
Okay. So that brings me to the next point. How many of you guys know that Fannie Mae just came out and made it a hell of a lot easier for a first-time home buyer to house hack? Mm-hmm. Okay. And when we say house hack, we mean buy like a duplex or a triplex or a fourplex, live in one unit, rent out the other 3 as an investment.
And you could buy it at 3%.
3 to 5%. Okay. So can you do that anywhere? Yeah. If you're young and you don't have anything tying you down and you want to move somewhere that's affordable for the next 2 years, do it.
Investment, and like I said in the prior podcast, if you're young and you don't want to be tied down, guess what? Rent it out or sell it. Try breaking a lease. Yep. It's gonna take. You're gonna lose some. You're gonna lose some money regardless, and it's gonna be hard to break a lease. You don't have to break a mortgage. Just sell it. You can sell it whenever you want.
Think about it this way. So let's say us 3 go in and we want to buy a duplex. Okay, and let's say we want to, we put 10% down. Well, a duplex in Cleveland, Ohio, that you could rent out, right? You got to run your numbers, but you can rent it out. Maybe cost $250,000 for a duplex, both units, right? You don't have to live it as a primary, but you need at least 10% down. Pay a higher interest rate. Even at 20% down, you're talking $50,000. Okay, divided by 3 people, right? $17,000 a person, roughly. Not terrible. All 3 of us could take out a HELOC right now at 6% and pool our money, go buy a duplex, pay a property management company to run it. Now we own a piece of property in Cleveland, Ohio. We don't even have to touch. We don't have to get renters for it. We don't collect the checks.
We get an asset management company to take care of it.
Right.
They do everything for you.
8% of your gross rent. Yes, you have to do research, but I think that's part of this point is if you're mad at the investors for buying up all these homes and driving up home prices, well, they're investing where it makes sense for them. How do they do that? They use tools. They have a skill set.
It's the age-old classic.
Right? They've got knowledge to be able to do that. So instead of having the victim mentality, go learn how to invest. Talk to us. We can teach you how to invest, how to run the numbers.
If you have some pocket change, let's see if we can do it, make it work.
What Jameson is trying to say is if you can't beat them, join them. Right? Like,
but you can only join
them.
But
you're not going to join them. You're going to do better than them.
Yeah, exactly.
Beat them at their own game.
To put in the work and to learn, right? Yep. And I mean, realistically, all you need to know is what your return on investment is. What your
let me throw this out there.
What your cap
if you open a business, statistically, you will not turn a profit in how long?
I think it's 10 years, right?
Okay, I was going to say 6 months. Realistically, if you open a business and you're like killing it, you're probably not going to see a profit in 6 months, right?
Yeah.
If you do real estate right, worst case scenario, you break even.
Yep.
But you're looking at 90 days if you're doing a flip.
Correct.
And if you work your numbers right and you're doing a long-term hold, you should see profits within the first 2 to 3 months.
Right.
Credit is an asset. It is not a death sentence if you use it correctly.
Yes.
A lot of the world doesn't deal with credit, and then you have to buy everything cash. You have the magical word of credit here in the United States.
The investing companies are doing
exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
They're leveraging their debt.
Exactly.
That's it.
The U.S. does it. Our government does it. We go borrow from another fucking country to bail us out, but it's going to help the American people. They do it all the time.
I can go in debt $20,000 and own a $400,000 piece of real estate.
Yep.
What is our debt right now?
Over 30 billion.
No. The U.S. the national debt.
Oh, it's a lot.
There's
a lot of zeros.
It's trillion something dollars.
Yeah.
It's stupid, but it's smart money. That's why we're still one of the greatest ones.
It's all made up, right?
We'll print more of that shit. And if you don't like us, we have the bigger stick. That's the way they would think. I don't want to start a war, but that's the way they think.
And again, guys, we want to have these conversations with you because at the end of the day, all 3 of us have come from a place where we were the corporate drones. We were working for certain companies.
I was working for banks. I'm from the financial institution.
And we all took the time to learn it and put the effort in. And guys, at the end of the day, it's not, I don't expect you to sit at home and take 3 hours out of your day to research and become a financial expert. Really, we live in the best period of time in human history to have the most access available to us ever. So think about it. If you take 20 minutes and denote yourself to financial literacy, just 20 minutes every day.
And you don't
Not
even have
a
to
half
read
hour.
it. Call
No.
us. We'll educate you.
Take 20 minutes every day. That's after a week. You're looking at over 2 hours of research. After a year, you're looking, you know what I mean? Like, it builds up. That's exactly what I did. That's exactly what we all did.
And this is just a casual conversation, right?
Yeah.
We're having fun. We're drinking bourbon. We're, whatever. When we sit down with you, it'll be at a different. I mean, if you want me to look like this, I will. But it'll be on conference table or your home, wherever you want to be, and we're gonna have a serious conversation.
Shit,
No
let's go to
bourbon,
a-
maybe
let's
after
go to a
bourbon or
distillery.
during bourbon.
Yeah,
I
let's
don't
go to a
care.
distillery,
We're gonna
get some
talk
bourbon.
numbers. It's gonna be a serious conversation. And here's the game plan: is it gonna be easy? Maybe not.
Yeah.
But are you gonna have some risk? There's no risk. There's no reward without any risk, and that's what these investors are still risking.
And lenders are free to talk to.
Yes. And whatever you sign up with them, it's not a contract, it's an application.
Exactly.
If you want to pull it halfway through, pull it, you lose nothing.
Exactly. All right, Jamie, you look like you're biting to throw one more. We're coming up. We've been holding them for a while.
We might have to do this as a separate topic, but
Okay.
there's another trend that we're starting to see. It's build to rent communities,
Yes.
right? And essentially what it is instead of builders like Richmond building a community and then selling them individually to private buyers like you and me, they would build a community and then lease them to the buyers, right? And
There's one in our neighborhood.
yeah, the good news is it'll put downward pressure on rents, right? I don't think it's going to be a massive thing because there's a lot of logistics, like because land is expensive, and
They're not making more of it?
the only way they're able to finance large developments is because they sell them at a profit. Versus if you're building to rent, you're spending all this money on land, but if you're only making $200 to $300 per household, I don't know if the numbers work out entirely, but it is something to keep an eye out for, right? And if you're somebody that is has the ability to purchase a house like that, it may be something that you can go to. But it's a new thing that's happening.
But there's a lot of weird new things. Like
Yeah,
I mean,
but
here in
again,
Colorado,
it's-
hyper local.
but
You know,
again,
with the whole
we're-
homeless thing.
Yeah.
They're turning the hotels into
homeless shelters,
and they took a video of the interior and they're just trashing. We have a lot of fixing to do.
Yeah.
But that's just everything.
Well, I talked about
growing
I think it was
pains.
2
It
weeks
is.
ago with Airbnb.
Yeah.
Is doing their I forget what it's called, Airbnb apartments, where you can go and you can you can lease an apartment that Airbnb co-owns with a developer, and they have rules and regulations in place that allow you to short-term rent out your unit for up to 90 days, 120 days a year.
Yep.
And charge, and they get you all set up. So
It's
if you're somebody
subleasing.
that
Giving you options.
Subletting it.
right, but it's
giving you
legally
options.
subletting it, so you can sit there and say, I want to live at X amount wherever downtown. I can rent this apartment out. It's a 2-bed, 2-bath for $1,600 a month. I have all the amenities, but I like to go up to the mountains on the weekends. I can then turn around and list my unit with Airbnb, have all the same protections, all the same insurance, everything else, the same platform to manage it online. And if I go to the mountains from Friday to Sunday, I can then Airbnb my unit from Friday to Sunday and make incremental income to help offset expenses, rent, so on and so forth, and dip your toes into that investment world of, okay, I own something, but I can
Or
also
offset
rent
your
it with
rents.
money.
Yep.
Right? So there's a lot of
He says legal subletting because in the past the only way you could sublet is if you're trying to get out of a lease.
Correct.
I have 3 months left on the lease. I can't break it without
Exactly.
losing $2
And
grand.
these
I'll sublet it to
communities-
someone else, and then they take the long
Yeah,
term.
and these buildings are built in conjunction with Airbnb and developers for that purpose specifically, which is awesome. Because if you are out of town, you can make some extra cash. It gets people into investing, which goes back to the financial literacy side, and just doing it and getting started will help. And I think that you talk about what's the number one industry that creates millionaires in this country is what?
Real estate.
It's real estate. It's never
Absolutely.
changed. It's not
Absolutely.
Bitcoin.
What's the most
It's not
expensive
Twitch.
piece of real estate?
What do you mean?
Land. It's the most expensive piece
Like
of
in
land.
the world?
I don't know if it's in the world. I've had a few bourbons, but I was reading, and it's kind of weird because you probably can't buy it. But what's the most expensive piece of real estate
Farmland.
An asteroid?
in the world
Oh,
here on Earth?
I don't know. Like you gotta narrow it down. Like a parcel? Is it a house?
Yeah, the most expensive piece of real estate.
Like including the house? Like is it a house? No.
Land.
Oh, fuck, dude.
Antarctica.
I have no idea.
I have no idea.
Some
What is it?
oil field in South Dakota.
Central Park.
Oh, I see what you're
Interesting.
saying. Got
Now,
it.
yeah, I mean, it would make sense. The apartments surrounding
Central Park. You
are
can't
like-
buy Central Park.
No.
Right.
But that's the most expensive piece of land if you
That
could
makes
buy.
sense.
or own.
Interesting.
That makes sense.
That's
right
awesome.
in the middle
That's
of
awesome.
New
Right?
York.
Yep.
I mean, they have like $33 million apartments out there, like
Oh,
overlooking.
speaking of
And it's no land.
another
Yeah.
tangent, right? So I said Miami was like Vegas prices, right? So I figured. And have you ever been to Miami? Mm-hmm. Have you?
Yeah.
Did you go to South Beach?
Yeah.
You go to South Beach?
South Beach, West Palm,
Biscayne, all that.
yeah, all that stuff.
So here's what I figured about Miami. Number one, I've never seen a larger group of beautiful people in my entire life,
Oh.
like at all. right?
I would
haven't.
say
But-
Miami is right up there with California
but
on
here's-
appearances first.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, and I don't-
I'm
I mean-
a 10 in Denver. Miami, I'm maybe a 3.
Oh yeah, I was a 2. After 18 bourbons, I might have been a 3, 3.5, maybe.
And that's them drinking a bottle of bourbon.
Yes, yeah, that's me getting them drunk. I was dead sober. But no, it's because I compare it to Vegas, right? Like price wise and entertainment wise, it's like Vegas, but Vegas is fake money. Miami's real money.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I was watching. This is such a tangent, but I was watching American Made with Tom Cruise, right? And you realize all the amount of money that comes into Miami that's covered in white powder.
Yes.
And you realize that like those drug dealers, like those cartels built, just like the mafia built Vegas
Yeah.
to launder money, the cartels built Miami
Oh, yeah.
to launder money.
Yeah.
But now in Miami, because there's not a ton of casinos, you don't get a bunch of fake bullshit. You get like it's real money. Like
Yeah, it's
Well,
real.
it
that's
is-
what I said. Miami
it is
has that.
$150
You got
million
Dade County that
yacht that is parked out across from Fontainebleau in a little strait of water.
Just
that you
watch Bad Boys.
You have Dade County
know.
that's like
That's
super
nice.
broke. I mean, again, I have family in Florida. You got Dade County.
Yeah.
You have Plant City. I mean, it's tropical ghettos. They're nasty, but it's tropical.
I was
It's-
looking
it's
at
beaches.
some,
but they're super poor. And then you got the yachts in Miami. It's like,
Bro,
oh my
alright, before-
god, West
I
Palm
was
Beach.
looking. Oh, hold on. I was looking at
the
real estate.
the Epsteins. I mean,
I was
dude,
looking at
seriously.
real estate because that's just what I do when I go places, right? There was a 0-bed, 1-bath. There's actually 10 of them for sale. Studio apartments, high rise, right on South Beach, right? So you overlook the ocean, which is pretty dope. 275 square feet is how big this
A closet.
is, okay? $879,000.
Hey, you need to go take a piss and
And
shit
they
somewhere.
were selling.
Yeah.
Like it's fucking
Well,
wild.
here in town.
But it makes the point that that's like if you own that place,
You're making money.
you're making $879,000 in a place that's actually smaller than the little set that we're on right now
Yeah.
for this podcast.
Yes.
So even local, right? There was a time where I was doing a lot of studios and whatnot down in Denver, downtown Denver. Brooks Tower,
Yeah.
they have parking spots.
Yep.
You will not. It's hard to find a place where you could buy with a parking spot because they're deeded and they were selling the parking spaces, a little parking spot for $50 to $80K.
Dude, that's
Alicia's-
a perfect fucking example.
Yeah,
perfect
exactly.
example.
And Alicia's parking addendum. She works downtown in a high-rise building. She's a leasing agent. They're paying for a parking spot an extra $300 a month, $350 a month to have parking in Denver, right? Like, and the whole thing is.
Hold on. We had a real estate office that I worked for. We were able to park across the street because it was quote unquote where we were able to park on 19th and Blake. During Rockies games, we were kicked out. They'd come and say, "Hey guys, whoever's parked in where you're supposed to park for this building, you're out. Rockies are playing. We're charging $20 a spot, and we could go in and give them the $20, but I freaking work here."
And I think that's before we start really having too much fun with the conversation and it gets away from us. I think it's a good time to move into the one rock takeaway. And I'm gonna go ahead and take it. Like I said, I had this set maybe 15 minutes ago, but my one rock takeaway from today's episode is virtually that with everything going on in the world right now, don't sideline yourself. Don't take these headlines and go, you know what, I am out. I don't have an opportunity here. If you are that person, try and practice flipping your mindset to, if there's an opportunity for somebody else, there's an opportunity for me. And in this period of time, we have, as I said earlier, the most opportunity to learn and grow and get this information. Make sure it's from the right sources, but don't just sit back and let it happen to you. If somebody else is doing it, there is no reason that you can't do the same thing. May take you a little bit more time, may take you a little bit of learning and knowledge, but you can do it. There are options out there. And if you keep telling yourself that these investors are buying up everything and it's ruining my chances, that is going to be a reality. But if you challenge yourself and you take the opportunity that they are taking, you can make life better for yourself.
And this is not my. I'm just want to add to that. A lot of the self-help business gurus that I've read and listened to, they've all said, take maybe a year of your life and focus it. And it may not be the best year of your life because you're going to be cramming down information, but you're setting yourself up for the rest of your life. You take one moment of your life to better yourself, to be better for the rest of your life.
Exactly. Absolutely. I like it. Thank you, Oscar. Who wants to go with theirs?
I was my rock takeaway was like, I'm a fucking 2.5 in Miami.
I like it. All right.
Now go ahead. I'll do my two rock.
True.
Yeah, go.
So I'll piggyback off of you, Charlie. One of the books I was reading, there's been a couple, but Think and Grow Rich, right? You and I have talked about this.
Yep.
And it's based off of a book called The Secret, which I don't know if you've read.
Everybody's read The Secret.
Dude, no, you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised at the lack of people that know how to read.
I remember when my mother was
yeah.
carrying around the book.
Yeah. So, but the one thing that it points out, and I think this goes to speak to what Charlie's saying, is the human species has one of the most powerful gifts of any species. It's why we're where we're at, and it's the gift of thought, right? Every single thing that has ever come into existence started as a thought. Didn't start as a material thing. It didn't start as brick and mortar. It didn't start as a piece of wood. It started as a thought of, I'm going to create or do something, right? And that thought is now then influenced either positively or negatively by your perception of what's happening around you. So if you can cut through the noise and cut through the bullshit and understand like, hey, you know what? Maybe my thought is I want to become rich investing in real estate. And you hold that, and then everything that you do is in service of that thought. Eventually it will come to fruition because that's how things are made.
Humans couldn't
Do
fly
I have to get
until the
into
Wright
quantum
brothers-
physics? Because I may not be Mr. Walking Thesaurus, but science-wise, I will break down quantum physics, and we are all interconnected. And
It is.
thoughts
Well,
become
and yes,
things,
and-
as The Secret says, and we got the science to prove it.
Well, and that's exactly what I was going to say is humans weren't able to fly until the Wright brothers took it upon themselves to make sure we were able to, you know, and there's so many different things that we've proven, like exactly Oscar's example, quantum physics. Nobody understood that. Now we do to a certain extent. Peanut butter wasn't a thing until somebody mistakenly, you know, made it. Microwaves happened because
we
some
can
dude
make
had
it-
a chocolate bar in his pocket. You know, like things are possible. Things are not possible until we think that they are. Right.
and we could take it as literally or educational wise as you want, or we could dial it down and just make it as basic as possible. For all my anime guys, Luffy the monkey.
Yeah,
He wants to be the king of the pirates.
That's right.
And that's all he thinks about, and he is obsessed with it.
I'm so proud to be sitting here.
Yeah.
And you
I
just
mean,
made a
come
One
on,
Piece
man.
reference.
I can make it about quantum physics, or I can make it about anime. At the end
That
of the
was
day,
great.
this is my one rock takeaway. Choose your path. Choose your path, but stay on course. You might divert, but you know what? Don't point the finger. Stay on what you want to do in life and make it happen.
Boom. It doesn't matter what the corporation
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
doesn't.
It
Do
what
doesn't
makes
matter
life
what
better for
class
you.
you're in. It doesn't matter your IQ or your now there's an EQ, which are totally different. And EQ kind of trumps a little bit IQ in forms of management and whatnot. So it doesn't matter where you are. Educate yourself. Keep your finger on your goal. You make it happen. Screw these big corporations. You could do better.
And learn how your perception influences your reality, and understand that I think it sneaks up on a lot of people, right? Because you and I were talking about it before Oscar got here. Like, there's things that happen that you go, well, okay, I guess this is just
That's what it is.
this is what it is, right? And it's not, because I could every time if I leave here, I can make a choice. If I choose to spend my time one way versus another, if I choose to pick up a book or not, if I choose to pick up that book and read it and then implement or not, like there's all these different things that you as a human being can control. And I think the kind of, I don't know, existential idea of this conversation today was people are too quick to just blame the easiest and most visible thing and then give up. And I think, yes, we went through the numbers and we showed you guys, hopefully, that what you think is happening is not actually happening. And maybe that turns some sort of light bulb in somebody's head to go, okay, well, it's not that. So I can be that person. Now I just need the skill set. Well, I can go learn that skill. Okay, well, maybe I don't know how to learn that skill. I can go find somebody that already has that skill and I can learn from them. Right? That's the whole point. And I think we're all pretty congruent in how we think about moving forward. Like, that's the takeaway I want you guys to have between what Oscar's saying, go out and do it.
It don't matter what they're doing. Do you.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Right?
do you. And forget,
Do you,
like
boo-boo?
like Jameson said, screw the noise.
Do you, boo-boo?
Right?
Do you.
Well-
If you have the means, maybe the rest of the people don't have the means. Do you, and make it happen.
Yep.
And guys, again, thank you so much for sitting through with us on this topic. I know it's a touch-based topic. It's heated, and we get comments on it all the time. And yeah, we like those comments. We want to talk to you. We want to have these conversations. But now, getting away from the real estate, moving in to our bourbon review for the day.
Somebody thought about making a wheated bourbon that was really good.
Yep.
And then did things within their power to bring it to fruition.
Exactly. And just huge shout out to Old Elk. Thank you again so much for sending us these
thank you.
bottles.
Yeah, you guys have been awesome.
It has been,
They've all been tasty.
Yeah,
Do we
it's
have
been
one
a
more after
pleasure.
this,
Yeah,
right?
one last bottle. And then I hope we can do the blind taste.
Blind
but
taste,
we'll see how if we can get all four and actually hold it through the whole episode, or we'll just do a one-off video.
Well,
See, we
you
could-
have all four.
we-
You'll have all four bottles.
Yeah.
We
so we
will.
have them.
I'm saying we gotta
the
do-
question is not whether we'll hold it through.
We
It's
got to
how
make
much
it,
bottles left.
All I'm saying is we gotta make, maybe that's a separate video. We don't do that comparison during a podcast because that could get away from us.
Or here's
That's
an
the
idea.
whole podcast.
Yeah.
Here's an idea. We got 4 bourbons, right? We just choose 4 articles,
Okay.
and each
One
taste
per?
is one per.
All right.
And ransack.
One glass per.
Strap
Let's
in,
go.
everybody. Strap in, everybody. But
That's gonna be a very interesting
And again, just
podcast.
as we rate these bourbons, remember we do it on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being the best, 10 being the worst, and we call it our rock rating because the better the bourbon, the less ice rocks you want to put in it. The worse it is, the more additives you want to put in it, right? And I'll tell you what, I'm gonna go ahead and take a sip on it because I think I might go a little bit different than you guys
I'll
are
give it.
thinking.
I don't know what to compare it to.
I like that you said that.
There's right. I mean,
I don't know what to compare it to.
It has a very it's on the cusp of my go-to. It's very easy drinking. The aftertaste is different. I don't want to say it's not my favorite, but it's different than what I'm used to. When I'm drinking bourbon, I want the dark caramel. You know me. I'm not high sweet, but I do like larceny, right? They're high wheated, but larceny at the end of the day is a little bit too light for me. This one, it has the drinkability of a larceny, but a lot of complexity that I can't wrap my head
Right.
around. Because of the drinkability, it gives it a better rating than I would give it, but the complexity afterwards keeps me thinking,
Okay,
which
so
is
wait,
not necessarily a bad thing.
Before you
Hold
give
on,
your,
I gotta put my glasses on.
but
for this.
before you give your rock rating, website value of this bottle,
$69.
65 to 69.99.
close.
Okay.
Okay.
So I wanted to give you that before you go in.
Obviously, their presentation's great.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
On this one, I enjoyed the other ones better. I'm leaning more towards a 4, 3.5. I'm gonna go with the solid 3.5.
3.5. Okay. All right. I everything that you said plays in also with mine, but I'm going a different route with it.
Okay.
So, we talked about letting it open, right? I don't know about you guys, but letting it open and even on the sip, the nose is still very sweet, but I get a lot more of that clove on the front end, that bitterness on the front end, and then a little bit less of the sweetness on the back end. And that's, again, letting it sit. We've each had 2 pours throughout the episode. I smelled the glass that's been sitting on the table. Now, all right. So I think that what's the word? The categorization of a bourbon holds a very high standard, right? Because when you go from whiskey to bourbon, like Oscar was saying, you want to have that burn. You want to have the barrel. You want to have the oak, the flavor. if I was rating this as a bourbon in comparison to other bourbons that we were having, okay, I think I would go 4.5 to 5.
Wow.
On my rating.
I was gonna go. Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because although it's not syrup heavy, if this is somebody who is a regular bourbon drinker that is going through and really enjoys the fact that, their bourbon has a burn in the oak,
Traditional
and the wood.
bourbon drinker,
Exactly.
an old school bourbon
Yes.
drinker. Because the way that I can, and I don't mean to cut you off, but the way I see this is I'm more of a, let's take it into the beer category, right?
Yeah.
I'm more of a stout, maybe a lager, crisp. You know what you're gonna get. I'm that way with my bourbons. This is more of an IPA.
Yeah,
in the beer world.
exactly where you're going with that thought. That's where, again, if I'm rating this as a bourbon for what it is, I'm going to sit 4.5. If I am rating this as, hey, I want everybody who drinks this to enjoy it. I want this to be a bourbon that the masses can enjoy. Then I would probably give it a 3. And the reason I say that is because although there is complexity of flavor, the sweetness does come through forward, and the sweetness is heavy. And at humans, something that we do with our taste buds is the sweeter it is, the more we like it. And I think that this bourbon would be phenomenal for anybody who is getting into bourbon, that wants to try bourbon, that wants to explore a little bit. I think that this one would be great for them.
You know what I can compare this to? So if you drink Coke,
Yeah.
you're gonna get Coke. Drink Pepsi, you're gonna get Pepsi. You drink 7-Up, you're gonna get 7-Up. This is like the Dr. Pepper.
Yeah.
It has a little bit of everything.
Exactly.
It just keeps.
Yes.
All right, now I'm tasting this, and it has me kind of like, okay, it's good.
Yes.
I tend to like Dr. Pepper, but it's just a Dr. Pepper flavor. It's kind of all over the place.
Yes.
For me, at least.
And that's where I think that this would be very good for a new bourbon drinker, somebody who just got started but wants to elevate their game a little bit. That's where I think that the rating on this guy would
Maybe
go.
not the novice, but
Yeah.
intermediate.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I'm sitting there. Again, not a terrible bourbon at all.
I get
but,
kind of like a perfumey kind of.
Yeah, but if I'm comparing it to like a Dexter, that is a bourbon.
Still haven't had Dexter.
That is a bourbon.
God damn it.
All
That's
right.
what I was just looking up.
Right?
Yeah.
So and the Dexter, if I'm comparing it to that, it's a little too sweet.
Shit, you know what? I'm gonna go buy a bottle of Dexter, and you guys have to come over.
Yeah, I'm down.
I can't reference back to Dexter because I've never had it.
So, Dexter has a wheated bourbon.
Okay.
We haven't had that yet.
All right. We got to give it a try.
It's on the shelf right next to the regular Dexter.
We got to give it a try.
I just want the regular Dexter and just be like, all right, guys, I know what you're talking about.
What are you thinking, J-Mo?
I think
Therefore, you are.
that this, like all of our listeners, have potential.
Yes.
My rating would be very different if this was 100 proof. I think.
Yeah.
I agree that
For everybody listening, Jameson put his glasses back on.
He's
Fuck yeah,
he
put my
put
glasses
his
on.
prime.
Yeah.
They're his prime time glasses.
hey,
Damn
4
right.
4 and 6, baby. No bull.
Don't they have the same?
Go see you.
Wait, whoa! Doesn't CU have the same record as CSU now?
Yeah, so we're 4 and 6.
Shout out to CSU. That's
Listen,
where
man, we
going
didn't have
to.
an offensive line. All right, I think Shadur Sanders set a record for the most sack QB in NCAA history. Anyway, yeah, I think. Man, it has potential. It really does.
It's good.
It is
It's good.
good.
It's good.
It's good. I don't think there's enough to offset the sweetness.
Yes.
And I have a very sweet forward palate as well. So like I would enjoy drinking this, right? Really would.
See, but I would have to drink it neat. I wouldn't put anything.
I
in.
would-
But you know
correct,
what? With the
yes.
whole
I
potential
drink-
thing, that's what got me like I can't give it a shitty rating because it's
Right.
good.
Exactly.
But
Yes.
it's not my. It's on the cusp
Right.
of my wheelhouse. And
again,
If it was
just
if
it
it
keeps
was 100
going.
proof versus
and I don't like that.
92, I think I would have a higher rating because
But I
it
think
needs-
a higher proof would
it
eliminate a lot of
needs-
the stuff we don't like.
It does. It needs some
Yeah.
heat to balance out how
Yeah.
sweet forward it is.
I like it.
I like it though. Like it's not. We've had other sweet bourbons that are just like it tastes like candy, and you're like,
Yeah.
what are you trying to do?
Right.
Like you're trying to put an old fashioned in a really fancy bottle.
I think it
don't
was
think that's
the
this.
for me. It was the Breckenridge rum cask.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was
I
going to
like
say
way
something.
too- yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
100%.
So
Way too.
I can't. I just can't with that one.
I'm between like a 4 and a 4.5. Probably closer to a 4.5 because of the price.
But I'm a nice guy. That's why I gave it such a good rating.
At which is surprising because you're not a sweet forward guy.
I am
so
not.
it is interesting. But I am comparing it to the Dexter because I think Dexter also is sweet forward.
I drank a lot of Frangelico this week, though.
It's understandable.
But it has the burn of a true bourbon.
Yes.
And I do like the complexity of this. Like, I don't
Yeah.
think it is a sweet bourbon that is not complex.
No.
It is definitely something you want to Oscar's point earlier, you want to keep open while you're pouring it out if you got some people around, because it does change as you go through, right? Which to me is the sign of a good bourbon. If you keep it open, it either gets worse or there's no tangible difference. Probably not a great bourbon, right? And you would expect that from something that's been aged
For
for
the
6
old
years.
school guys, this is going to be a 6 for you.
Yeah.
For the old school bourbons.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
For the
you
one
want
that
the
wants to put
bourbon
hair on
bourbon?
your chest.
Yes.
If you're old school, this is going to be a
if
6.
you're used to walking into a saloon and the wooden door swings open and closes, then it's like a 6 or a 7.
But if you're open to a lot of stuff,
But
I'm telling you, that's where the 3.5 comes from me.
For what they did with this,
Yeah.
I
like
think
it.
it's exactly where it needs to be.
It is.
I could drink this.
But again,
just-
we have to compare it across a board of bourbons.
My,
right.
my
What would you compare-
recommendation
All right, so
would
if
be
you
to
got-
add less water.
Yeah.
If you had, let's say, a Booker's,
Okay.
and this, Booker's is just,
Yeah.
you know, Booker's.
It's hot.
It's like, yes,
Yeah.
I'll drink this. I know how to drink this. I'm going to enjoy this, and I'm going to,
Yeah.
every sip's going to be the same. This kind of is all over the place.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to lie. I was very surprised. I thought it was going to get sweeter as it opened. But
It did not.
No, that bitterness came through a little bit more.
It also is now starting to hit the roof of my mouth.
Yes.
A little bit more, which is why like 4.5 is where I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
Wow.
But again, because it has potential. You put this at 100 proof, I'm probably closer to a Dexter.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
really am. Like
Absolutely.
And you
2.5,
put that at 100 proof,
2.5,
I'm gonna
3.
like it a lot.
Yeah, 2.5, 3. I
Absolutely.
think it's money.
I think the higher proof with the complexity and the easy drinkability of the wheat, it's going to be great.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how to
No.
distill. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you do that? I
But no,
don't know.
overall great bourbon.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go 4.5.
If I think out of all the bourbons that we've tried, I know I always reference the new bourbon drinker. Out of every one that we have tried, I know the price is a little high. This is the one that I would introduce somebody and go, hey, you want to try? You really want to get into bourbon? Drink this.
New bourbon
Yeah.
drinker that has already dipped his toe in.
New
Yes.
bourbon drinker that you want to introduce something neat.
Maybe
Yes,
the next
exactly.
step for the
Exactly.
new bourbon drinker.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
So,
That's
you
exactly.
want some.
This is in my mind, this is the epitome
Yeah.
bourbon that you give to
You
that
want
person.
flavor profile and something to wrap your mind around. This is the one.
Easy to drink? Yeah, this is it right here. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us on another episode of Real Estate Served on the Rocks. Remember, you can follow us on YouTube at Living in Colorado, The Mile High Perspective. We don't just have the podcast on there. We have community spotlights, new build home tours, and we continually add stuff for you guys too. Please remember, like, comment, share, and you can reach out to us at any time. RESOTR at themilehighperspective.com is the email, and give us a call or a text, whichever one's easiest for you, at
303-578-0263.
And guys, we are more than happy to sit down, have a glass with you, talk about it. And to the client that we just got, thank you so much for reaching out to us. We appreciate you more than you know. Thank you for paying attention to the channel, watching us, and trusting us to be with you. We can't wait to help you get through this transaction. But on that note, guys, it's been great. Thank you for joining us on another episode. Next week, we actually have a full rye. So we're doing 1-1-1-1, which will be a great comparison to the one that we did.
I'm excited
on
for
the
the full
last episode.
rye. That'll be a good one.
It's going to be a good one. Well, on that note, guys, good luck. Remember, teach yourselves, take the opportunity, learn it. We're headed out. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers.